Hello and welcome back to the Fools on a Hill podcast channel thing. We don't know what we are anymore. This is a classic review of an album that Liam is so kindly going to tell you about now.
I am indeed. This is Pig Lib by Stephen Malkmus and the Jicks. This is the second album from Steve Malkmus et al. The first one with using the moniker the Jicks. For the first one, also had the Jicks involved. 2003 it was released. This is the 20th anniversary.
Big up.
That's right, isn't it? I done my maths there, didn't I?
Yeah, big up 20s.
Big up the 20s.
Great
boy.
age.
It's a classic.
It kicks off with Water and the Seat. What do you think about this one?
Well,
guys?
Liam, I absolutely love that little intro that you get the first minute. Oh, dreamy.
Mhm.
Very, very dreamy. And it's also great once you get into the track, which everyone, I'm coming around to this whole Steve Malkmus idea. Who'd have thought it?
Success, boys.
Yeah, I love how it's such a weird sort of timing and so sort of random, but it just feels like you're sort of flowing in a tide that's against your control, but you want to be in it. What I was going to say is the first two songs I feel like are an introduction to the album, and then it doesn't kick off until Do Not Feed the Oyster. That whenever I've listened to it, that's always how it sort of comes across to me. Yeah,
I get what you mean,
that's good. But yeah, Water and a Seat, great introduction.
Definitely. That you've both mentioned it there. That little meandering intro is great, and when it kind of comes back to that later, towards the end of the song, it's brilliant. But the main structure of the song, that kind of heavy guitar, the way he's singing and what he's singing is so kind of like strange. Even like compared to the first solo album, you can already see a step into a different direction with this one. Great chorus, great guitar throughout, great tune. Next one, Ramp of Death, as you mentioned there, Yanni. You're right, it is kind of like another introduction, a bit of a slower one, a bit of a calmer one. This sounds a bit more like the first.
Yeah, I was going to say
album.
that, yeah.
Say more.
Well, that was it, really. I was going to say, it reminds me more of the first Malkmus album. There are songs in here that do feel like later Malk as well. You can sort of see where he's going to go. But yeah, I like this style of Malk, to be honest with you, where it's a bit softer, but it's just easy listening, and it's still entertaining.
Well, if this is what first album sounds like, then I think I'll go and listen to that one.
You should do that.
Because
You absolutely should.
holy hell, I love this song. It's beautiful. And his vocals are incredible on this track, in my opinion. So silky, so smooth.
Yeah. Production's great on this song.
Yeah. Big up, Mr. Hadlock.
Yeah, it's incredible that like there's no more like kind of big hitters on that list of albums he's produced, because this album sounds so good. It's such a surprise. It's someone relatively kind
According
of
to Yanni, he produced the whole of Gossip, so it's just he produced Gossip.
Every gossip you've ever heard. But yeah, great tune. There's so many great parts throughout this. There's that kind of, I don't know if it's a synth sound or something throughout. I'm not just like really elevates the track.
It might be a mellotron of some kind.
Something weird. But yeah, brilliant. Next one, Do Not Feed the Oyster.
This is, without giving anything away, one of my favourites. It's just good. A great guitar intro to begin with, and the sort of staggered "Do not feed the oyster" when it gets into it is very good, very satisfying.
Yeah, I agree. It's just a bit of fun, isn't it? It's just a good, however long it is, it's just a good time. Everything sounds on point, and it's just
also one of his best vocal performances ever, I would say, on this track.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. The kind of the end part where he starts like shouting under the ground, that part is really good. And again, like just little parts, like the kind of those just heavy distorted like bends, like boom, boom, they sound, or like whatever's going on there, sound brilliant. Real hard hitter.
Oh, such a hard
Indeed.
hitter.
Vanessa from
Vanessa
Queens,
from Queens?
also a hard hitter.
Yeah. Come on.
Really just light, kind of fun, airy song. This one, always enjoyable to listen to. This definitely reminds me more of kind of the later like Wig Out
Yes,
Jagbags
that, yeah.
kind of era of Jicks. I actually thought it was from a later album, not necessarily that one, but for some reason when kind of revisiting this, I was surprised to hear it on here. I think that's maybe because, I mean, spoilers for later, I didn't really get into this one until fairly recently, this whole album. But this song I think I had saved on playlists. So it's kind of been around with some of the later ones when I've been listening over the times. But yeah, great tune. All the vocal melodies are great. The guitar following along, the harmonies and stuff, really good tune.
I'm gonna kind of like check out on my review. I did listen to the record, but I can't really compare it to other Malkmus work in the way you can. So I'm just gonna chip in every now and then with the odd comment. And my comment on this one is that the guitars are in particularly superb on this track. Very, very nice on the ear holes.
Very, very, very nice. Production also stand out on this track. You notice it. I like there's a whole like dun, 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 picking guitar that goes between the ears if you're listening with headphones on. You notice it. It's very good. Good lyrics as well.
Indeed. Yeah, Vanessa being from different places throughout the song is pretty cool. Next up is Sheets. I feel like this one is massively underrated. I mean, I don't know anyone that listens to Steve Malkmus, but I would assume if you got in a group of people that listen to Steve Malkmus, this one's underrated and kind of maybe lesser known. I mean, looking at Spotify, it's one of the least played songs on this album. But it hits hard. I think the chorus is great. I think the kind of funky guitar throughout is brilliant. Quite a standout, really, from revisiting the album.
Yeah, you mentioned the keyword there, Liam, and that was funk.
Yeah.
Funk is here.
I think the second time that chorus comes in, it sounds so good. So good. I can see the guitar in the verses being a little bit too repetitive, maybe. But I feel like there's enough of other things going on within the song that it manages to bypass that.
Yeah, and I think when you get to the chorus and the guitar turns to that kind of just matching the vocal melody, there's enough of a difference there that it breaks it up nicely. Animal Midnight next. This one sounds very Silver Jews to me, particularly the beginning. Well, really just the beginning, to be honest. But definitely a different side to Malkmus. I love this one. I think the chorus and like the solo and stuff is really good on this song. I feel like it's a great use of the 5 minutes plus. Every aspect is enjoyable for me. What are you guys?
Callum?
Like I said, my notes wore thin a little bit. But in particular, the higher pitch vocal part. It's just so nice. It really is nice. And I'm a man who hated Malkmus vocals not a year ago. So progress is here.
So much progress. I really like the solo in this because there's obviously the electric guitar sound itself, which sounds good, but there's also like a high, what sounds like a organ playing like a sort of a lead as well, and they just complement each other so well. But yeah,
absolutely. Next one, Dark Wave.
Slapper.
Bit of a change of this one.
Slapper.
Cal.
Wow.
Slapper.
Please do expand.
It's just, I don't know. It just grabbed me from the first moment I heard it. I think on previous listens to Pavement stuff, I think the heavier ones have appealed to me more because I find it hard to kind of get on board with the vocals, which I'm coming around to them. But there's just normally more to mask what I used to perceive as annoyance. So I'm always drawn to these, and it just, I don't know, it just grabbed me. The bass sounds great, and it's just a fantastic track.
Sorry, Liam. Before you say anything, listening to it for the first time properly all the way through. When it got to this song, I was a little bit like, man, I'm not really that into this track. It's good that it's only 2.5 minutes, just about. Because I couldn't have any more of it, really. It is a little bit annoying to me.
I completely see where you're coming from, Yanni. I've come around on it quite a bit. I really like the, I suppose it's like the chorus, refrain, or whatever, where the vocal kind of melody changes completely. But yeah, the main kind of part of the song, I also find a little bit repetitive, but still pretty well done. Anyway, next one. Witch Mountain Bridge. Now, an epic of a song, you could say. I mean, not the most epic on this album. We'll get to the biggest epic. But in terms of like, it actually almost sounds like a story being told. I've never really paid attention to the lyrics. But of like medieval times, that's how it kind of feels musically as well. Pretty well done in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you had that whole medieval vibe. I don't know what was sort of thought of first, but like obviously you've got like the mention of witch, and then lyrically there's like magic arts, servants, sermons, shepherds, stuff like that. It all sort of complements each other very well. But yeah, definitely another epic within an album of a couple of epics.
I agree. The high pitched Lars coming out of the solo into the final, the final verse or like outro vocal part was beautiful, and it really accentuated that final part of the song for me.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the whole. I mean, I think the kind of solo stuff starts at like less than 2 minutes into the song, whatever. So it's the whole like last 3-4 minutes, and some great stuff goes on throughout that whole part. It kind of mixes up quite a lot, which is great. It doesn't feel like it's just kind of taking too long doing what it's doing. Switches up here and there, and that's what we're going to do right now. Switch up to the next song, which is Crawl Song. A crawl. What is a crawl, guys? Is that like a lobster?
So.
I'm gonna check.
Find out.
No, it's not.
The bird?
The crop of a bird or insect. What's that mean? The crop of, like the inside, like a part of the body. Anyway, completely irrelevant. I don't know if it has any relevance. I think he mentions the word crawl in the song. This song, I love the song. I love the song. Again, a more chilled one, and I feel like it's with some of these songs where it seems to take a bit of time with it. It really pays off. The chorus, particularly on the song, sounds brilliant. I think with all the kind of backing vocals and the sound of the instruments works so well.
Yeah, I like the sort of percussion going on in this. I know I've mentioned it a couple of times, but I like the production in this song. Everything just fits so well together. And when it gets towards the end and there's a bit more instrumentation going on, it's just very nice. Like I say, it pays off.
This is the point in Steve Malkmus albums where I kind of check out in terms of making notes. Well, I mean, I've not really made notes at all.
That's not a good sign considering we've got the longest song coming up.
Well, yeah. I feel like if I listen to it in isolation, I'd really like it, but I do tend to struggle at this point just because I just want something else. Oh,
that's nice. I do think though, given that there's like, I mean, the next song coming up is a fucking hell of a song. There are a few longer songs on this album. It seems to go by pretty quickly, I think, personally. As someone who has no issue listening to it whatsoever, I do think it kind of it goes by nicely. But the one we've alluded to a lot here is 1% of 1. Yanni, what is 1%
of 1? Is the only song off this album I was aware of before we covered it. Did you like that? Yeah, thank you.
That was
thank
good,
you very much.
No, but what is the maths?
Politician, Yanni.
I'm not the mathematician of the group. Um,
But tell us what song. Go on.
it's just very good. I do enjoy this. It's very long, but if you strap yourself in and you know what you're in for, it's just a heck of a ride. There's so
Yeah.
many different parts to it. It keeps it interesting, personally, and you have to with something that's of this length. Am I right, boys? We
Hey,
wouldn't know. We
let me
wouldn't know.
tell you.
But yeah, all the different parts are so great. They work seamlessly together. Transitions between them are great. Yeah, I mean, it might help that it was one of the songs that I knew before jumping in, but I still think it's great.
I too think it's great,
Yeah.
but my desire for an 8-minute song at this point in an album is
9.
just
Sorry to be
all right,
9
9-minute
minutes, 11 seconds.
song at this point in an album is non-existent. But it is a fantastic song, in all fairness.
I think, I think this was the one that I knew the most before kind of exploring this album properly. And it is a hell of a song, but you're right. I've kind of lost my train of thought here. What was I trying to say? Despite being over 9 minutes long, it really keeps it fresh throughout the song. I feel like so much happens that mixes nicely, and also the kind of returning to that kind of 1% of one melody throughout. Because I think at some point you can forget you're listening to the same song, and then when that kind of comes back, you're like, oh, yeah, this is great. And just the outro, those first few lines, the way he sings, and a bit like the Jicks, is so good. I feel like that is such a good intro to a song, just a few lines. It's a whopper, man.
I feel like maybe if there wasn't 2 other songs on here, and I don't know, I'm just saying hypothetically now, if there was 2 songs less, the album as a whole wouldn't feel as daunting to someone new, because it does feel like 3 songs in one, possibly 4. I can't remember from memory now, but yeah. So if you weren't already listening to all the other songs before it maybe not feel what my English is gone. It might not feel as daunting, like I said. Anyway, last song, Us. I think this is a nice little send off to the album. It's very cheerful, and it does feel like a conclusion in a happy way, like a kind of visage, struggling to speak, boys. Like a summer's drive, people are filming on like a camcorder kind of thing, and like, people are laughing in the video. I get that kind of vibe from it. It's just a nice way to end the album, I think.
I completely agree. And you mentioned the harmonies earlier in the album, Liam, but on this one, they are beautiful.
Yeah, do you know what? I don't have anything more to add to that. I think you're all
Bob on.
I do always think it's going to be a different song when it starts. I can't tell you which one though. Another Malkmus song. But that's it. That's Pig Lib for you guys. I just realised it was released on St. Patrick's Day, 2003. We have some questions for the group. I'd love to say I have them up.
Callum does, though.
No, I didn't. I said before I didn't. And
Great.
then I thought you would. Well, you didn't.
I'll get them up.
I said,
That's all right,
and then I said I'm boycotting Notion.
Oh, I didn't think you were being serious.
Okay, let's not break our links with Notion here and now. They've supported us greatly. Not financially. You can do if you want. First question to you boys. Tell me your first experience.
Last week.
Yeah, same.
Great.
I was waiting at McDonald's to get a wrap for my lunch, and my 4G wasn't really working, so it kept cutting in and out.
No, that's a lie. My first experience with this album was, like I say, 1% of one, but that was only that track. I didn't ever listen to the rest of the album. I don't think, anyway. So, and that song was something I've known for a while, so I couldn't possibly say.
I'll answer that too. Answer my own question. I guess around time discovering Steve Malkmus and the Jicks, but I'd never really listened to the full album. I think it was one that when I first listened to it, at that point, I was kind of put off. It wasn't quite what I was looking for in terms of Steve Malkmus. And then since the anniversary, which we are a little bit late on, a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. No, I can't do maths. A few weeks ago. Listened to it quite a lot and discovered it's exactly what I
Yeah.
want at this point now. Now that I've kind of settled into the kind of... Now I've matured and I kind of know what I like, particularly within the Malkmus world. I think it's great. I enjoy meandering music quite a lot more now. And this fits that bill very well. So I would say my first real experience that was worth anything was very recently. But as I say, I've had a few songs on this album on a playlist for a while, so I'm familiar with a couple of them. Has it aged well? What do we think?
I think it
20
has.
years old.
I've said a couple of times, so apologies to repeat myself, but the production is great. It sounds like it was recorded just yesterday.
Wow.
So yeah, I think it has held up very well, to be honest.
Yeah, quality wise, yeah. I also wouldn't really necessarily put it at 20 years ago.
Yeah, I feel like lyrically as
Yeah.
well, like it's sort of just, there's nothing specific that ties it back to a certain era. So it is sort of timeless like that.
Yeah, I think that happens a lot with Malkmus's writing, Pavement included. With Pavement, I think there's a few more references to being in the 90s. And sound-wise, a lot of the kind of, especially the early Pavement stuff, sounds like it's from that time. Not just in terms of kind of production, but in terms of style of writing. But the Jick stuff definitely feels very of a genre of its own, in a weird way. A very kind of discernible sound. And timeless, I think, is spot on. And I think, like, you know, this compared to Sparkle Hard that came out in 2017, 18, I couldn't tell you, around then. But, you know, albums being released in the last few years and stuff.
2018.
There we go. It's really not that far removed. So, yeah, I think it's aged pretty good. Favourite tracks?
For me, Ramp of Death.
Yeah, Ramp of Death. Do Not Feed the Oyster. 1% of One. Yeah.
I think I'm somewhere between... the ones I've kind of really stuck to lately have been Animal Midnight and Crawl Song. So I think I'm somewhere between them. I think part of that, though, is recency bias. Obviously, those ones you've mentioned I have listened to over years, but these ones seem pretty fresh. But let's just say there's a number of big hitters on this album. And last one, and Callum, I want you to answer this first. How does this compare to their other works?
Well, I've not listened to any other Jicks albums or Malkmus solo albums.
You listened to Sparkle Heart, didn't you?
Did I?
Oh, Jesus
Let's
Christ.
say
I don't
no.
think I did.
You
Did I?
definitely did.
Did
You
I?
definitely
Well,
did.
let's say I did. I've got no recollection of doing so. My favourite Pavement record is Slanted and Enchanted, and I prefer that to this. So let's go with that.
Wow.
Second place.
No, because we've got a few more.
Last place. Is that
no.
what you're saying?
I don't know
Okay,
or
great.
care.
Okay.
Oh, brilliant. That's the way to
Jan?
be about this thing. I'm just going to compare it to Malkmus Works, not Pavement, because that's a whole different box of frogs. I would say this fits comfortably alongside the debut. Sparkle Hard would probably be third for me, and this is second, just below it, just below the debut.
I would say the next 3 albums after this, I really don't listen to much at all.
I tried to after this,
I just don't gel with them.
There wasn't anything to really grab me.
Yeah, there's a few singles throughout those albums, but nothing like Stick Figures and Love, for example. But
Slapper.
As albums, nothing. So I do think this is better than Wig Out Jagbags.
As a
Wig
whole
Out
album,
Jagbags.
yeah, but there are my favourite Malkmus songs on that particular album. But yeah, as a whole album, this is definitely better than that.
And I think I have quite a bit of nostalgia to Wig Out, but I think I've grown to realise that this album's better as a whole. Is this better than Sparkle Hard and Stephen Malkmus? I really do love both of those albums. It's a very close top 3. I couldn't really pick. Second or third. That's the last question. Do we have any more questions? There you go. That's how we end
I'll
up.
just put that there.
Second or third. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to talk about. Thanks for listening. That's been Malkmus The
Bye-bye.
Jicks. That's been Phil's and Hill. That's us.
Ciao.